Jim Bell, and today, along with my colleagues, Becky Allen, Matt Lang, Kevin Money, and Kevin Waller, we would like to review for you today our case study on Greyhound Lines Incorporated. Before we delve into the strategic management portion of our case study, I would first like to give you a quick overview of Greyhound Lines Incorporated. Really quick, Greyhound is the largest provider of intercity bus transportation in the United States. And pretty much to easily sum it up, Greyhound allows people to travel between cities via a bus. With that being said, I'd like to move into the first portion of our case study, which is Greyhound's current mission and purposes. Greyhound's mission is to specialize in intercity bus transportation services to middle and lower income individuals and families throughout the United States. They intend to give a reasonable return to their stockholders, and they strive for improved customer service. We want to win back old customers and create new ones. In the past, Greyhound employees could be seen being rude to customers and even ridiculing and making fun of their customers. As of 1998, Greyhound began acknowledging this and is taking steps to ensure that customer satisfaction is a top priority. Thus, we feel that since customer service was such a big deal to Greyhound's top management and executives, that it was a necessity for them to include this in their mission. Greyhound has also had a string of bad luck when it comes to reporting earnings. In the recent past, Greyhound has been reporting losses much more than they have been reporting profits. 1993 and 1997 were the only 2 years since 1992 that they actually reported a positive net income. The corporate strategy that Greyhound currently preaches includes a combination of internal growth concentration and external diversification concentration. The internal growth concentration plan includes to provide adequate telephone systems. This would allow for better customer service and customers would get faster response time. Eliminating reservation requirements. In the past, Greyhound had tried to set up a reservation system which would allow people to hold a reservation to have a bus, to get on the bus, ride on the bus. And Greyhound found that very few of these reservations actually showed up, and it would be resulted in an empty seat on the bus and loss of ticket. Creating a capacity flexible system, this would allow the buses to fill up more efficiently. Having everyday low prices, I'm sure everybody would like to pay less for a ticket. Reopening dropped rural stops. This could help Greyhound win back its old customers. Purchasing new buses and terminals, which would broaden Greyhound's customer base. And finally, increasing package services to keep customers happy and offer several different options to their customers. The external diversification concentration plan includes an alliance partnering with air, rail, and other bus lines for intermodal transportation, and also selling advertising space on and in its buses. Both the internal growth concentration and the external diversification concentration plans are performed simultaneously. Now I'd like to kick it over to Matt, who will talk about the external environment.
Within the external environment, there's the opportunities and threats. I'm going to look at the broad factors that include cultural trends and the economic environment. Within the cultural trends, the biggest thing is a changing demographics. And what that is the demographic groups that are the core customer bases for Greyhound right now are growing more rapidly than the overall population. Specifically, there are more older Americans and recent immigrants. That's an opportunity for Greyhound. Other than that, Greyhound bus has a current image problem. More affluent people feel the bus is only for poor people. Another thing is that younger generations of Americans are a little bit less familiar with Greyhound because of technology in the airline industry and such. Within the economic environment, the first thing, the broadest thing, is that we're moving more and more towards a global economy. In the long run, this is going to benefit Greyhound and benefit all economies. better efficiency, lower unemployment, and low inflation. Right now, the stock market is in a bull market, and this is good. However, we want to look at how it's going to perform in the future. The biggest problem going right now is that the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, thinks that there may be irrational exuberance in the stock market, and that's causing overinflated values. This could be bad because right now, if the market were to bust, then it'd be a hard crash for everyone. Some people, however, are saying that this is a new economy and that the low inflation and low unemployment can continue. However, the Federal Reserve is looking at raising interest rates, which would be a threat to Greyhound to try to slow down the economy. This is a weird situation because they actually think the economy is growing too fast, and it's just going to lead to more inflation and a bad bubble burst in the future. Therefore, the Federal Reserve will be raising interest rates in the future. Okay, next.
I'm going to talk to you about Greyhound's task environment, which consists of its customers, its competitors, its part in the value chain, and stakeholders in Greyhound. The customers that Greyhound serves are mostly low to middle income earners, blue-collar workers, the unemployed, older people, and recent immigrants. And as I said earlier, those segments of the population are growing faster than the overall population. So that's a definite opportunity for Greyhound. Customer demand is seasonal in nature, with their highest demand times being in the summer when people want to take vacations, and then also around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Greyhound is about the only, it is the only national scheduled intercity bus company left. Some of its former competitors have gone just strictly to charter and tour business because there's quite a bit more profit to be made in those areas. Greyhound's biggest current competitor is personal automobile. More people own cars now than ever before, and with gas prices being so low in 1998, people are more willing to fill up their own tanks and drive themselves from city to city. Greyhound's part in the value chain is one of final delivery to the customer, but before Greyhound comes the bus manufacturer. And it used to be that bus manufacturers were family-owned and operated businesses, but these family-owned businesses have been almost completely all bought out by large holding companies and conglomerates. So now there's concern in the industry that these new big conglomerate bus manufacturers aren't going to be terribly concerned with quality like the family-owned ones. A segment of the community that has stock in Greyhound right now, a stakeholder, is the disabled community. Greyhound has several complaints against it by disabled individuals that Greyhound has violated the Americans with Disabilities Act. So Greyhound is working on correcting those matters. They want to install lift equipment on their buses and remove all physical barriers so that they can serve this segment better. Some critical success factors. These are things that anyone in the motor coach industry who wants to succeed needs to have. They need to know their customers. Greyhound experienced the results of not knowing their customers when they tried to institute the reservation system. They tried to get their people to make reservations, and although their people made them, 80% of them didn't keep them. And if Greyhound had known who their customers were, what their personal characteristics were like a little more, they probably never would have tried that, and they wouldn't have wasted so much money. So now Greyhound spends a lot of effort trying to really know their customers. Low ticket prices are important. this is a great opportunity for Greyhound because their operating costs are lower on an available seat mile basis than other forms of intercity transportation, so they can offer those low ticket prices. Excellent customer service is important. A company with up-to-date information technology can do really well in the motor coach industry because they can have efficient call centers. They can use websites to give their customers scheduling information and such. Accessible depots that are in convenient locations are important. Good drivers and mechanics. And this is not as simple as it may sound. Mechanics, bus mechanics specifically, are in very short supply. And durable equipment is necessary because buses take a lot of wear and tear. So a firm that wants to succeed in the motor coach industry does need to have durable equipment. And now Kevin is going to talk to you about Greyhound's internal environment.
As Becky said, I want to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the internal environment. Management, leadership, and culture are all strengths for the company. The CEO, Craig Lynch, has had past experience with bus transportation, and he has lots of knowledge on strategic planning and technical side of business. The management as a whole is very comfortable with change. And society changes so much that that's a very important tool to have. An example of that is a recent acquisition of a Mexican bus transportation company, and with the global marketing being so big, it's very important. As far as analyzing Greyhound, we chose the resource-based view. Physical resources all turn out to be strengths. Greyhound has a huge infrastructure consisting of depots, maintenance facilities, and sales outlets. They currently have 2,400 buses, and they plan on acquiring more so they can keep the average age about 6 years. The organizational resources for Greyhound are also free of weaknesses. The booking system is efficient and doesn't allow for reservations. This keeps things simple, so customers can just come in, buy a ticket, and get on the bus that day. Baggage handling and package express services are also very simple and run smoothly. Greyhound's human capital resources have both strengths and weaknesses. The strength is, once again, CEO and management. They're very knowledgeable about their whole practice, whereas the lower level employees are less knowledgeable on technology and their training isn't as extent. This hurts with new technology. They have to spend more time teaching the employees how to use the stuff. Greyhound's financial resources also have both strengths and weaknesses. One weakness is that the bus industry is only 6% market share of the total transportation industry, whereas it used to be 30% in 1960. Another weakness is that Greyhound ended 1997 with its third consecutive year of loss. But despite this, there was a strength in that the total operating revenues went up by 10% in 1997. Bus ridership was up, and cash on hand doubled from 96 to 97. Greyhound holds 4 distinct competitive advantages. The first is the Greyhound name and logo for the running dog. It's a pretty common name in the United States for the past few years. It's been synonymous with bus travel. Second, the fact that Greyhound is the only nationwide provider of intercity transportation means that they're basically a monopoly. Their only real direct competition is small regional bus companies. The large size of Greyhound makes startup of another intercity bus service very unlikely. Another advantage is Greyhound's new policy for customer service. They're striving to really get to know who their customer base is, and this key helps them understand their customer better, offer everyday low prices, and really get to know what they like. The last competitive advantage is the CEO himself, Craig Lynch. His vision was the key to Greyhound's turnaround, and with his experience, he can keep Greyhound moving forward. Next, Kevin's going to talk about our recommendations.
All right, what I'd like to tell you about is a little bit about the strategic direction for Greyhound. First and foremost is the vision of the company, what we see the future to be like for Greyhound. One big thing we think that'll happen is a growing motor coach industry. As fear of flying increases, as Amtrak faces cutbacks, and as gas prices, as they fluctuate, if they might go up, motor coach travel could and most likely will increase. Electric power is another thing that will be important in the future. Greyhound will certainly acknowledge that and implement it when it becomes available. Regional competition is our only competition in the future that we see. As we just said, there's no national competitor, and the barriers to entry are just too great. New territories such as Mexico and Canada should certainly be explored, especially Mexico. There's $200 million forecasted to be made in Mexico that no one's making right now. So that's certainly a possibility for the future. Strategic alliances, that'll be important in the future, especially with some new and different partnerships such as McDonald's. You might not think about it, but if you get a bus ticket and you travel for 3 days, you're eating candy bars for 3 days. You don't have anywhere to eat. So if a partnership with someone such as McDonald's might give you somewhere to eat when you're in this bus depot. Customer service will need to be a top priority in the future. Greyhound is currently improving its customer service, but in the future it's going to be #1 priority, and it's going to have to be, because otherwise people are going to choose other forms of transportation. And finally, a stylish image will be important in the future, as people's conceptions of bus travel might have changed to a more negative one. The stylish image will help drastically. I'll tell you a little bit about our new mission and purpose. I'll read it to you, and then I'll tell you some of the differences. Greyhound specializes in intercity bus transportation services to all individuals and families throughout North America. Package express service, charter, and tour business are integral aspects of Greyhound Lines Incorporated. We intend to give a beneficial return to our stockholders and plan to be the industry leader in customer service. We want to win back old customers and create many new ones. I'm not sure if you'll remember the original mission statement. Some of the differences are transportation services to all individuals. Previously, Greyhound focused on lower to middle class individuals. We certainly think that Greyhound can serve all individuals. And throughout North America, not just the United States, but North America, including Mexico and Canada. That's a change. Package express service, charter, and tour businesses are integral aspects. That was not in the prior mission, but it certainly is a big part of Greyhound and will be in the future. We intend to give a beneficial return to our stockholders. You know, we can say we want to become profitable, we want to do this or that, but if we're not benefiting our stockholders, there's no reason to be in business, and we're not going to stay in business. So that's a new change. And to be the industry leader in customer service. As I said, not just to do well, but be the industry leader. And lastly, we want to win back our old customers that might have had a bad image of us, and create many new ones with our new mission. Some of the competitive advantages that we'll revisit here. As before, we have a household name. That's not something we expect to change, especially with a stylish image in the future. You'll still remember Greyhound, and you'll still recognize that dog, and you'll think of Greyhound when you think of bus travel. There are a few competitors, as I said, that it's very unlikely that anyone will compete with us nationally. Definitely not nationally, maybe regionally, but with increased emphasis on charter and tours ourselves, we'll be able to rule that market as well. And finally, customer service will be our new competitive advantage. You really can't survive in this business without valuing your customers in the highest respect. And by making that a top priority, it'll become a competitive advantage for Greyhound. So our strategy for the future. We would recommend that Greyhound continues its current strategies, which are internal growth concentration and external diversification concentration. That is, internally, Greyhound needs to refocus its assets and do what they do best. They need to get you from point A to point B on the bus and keep you happy while you're doing it. So they need to grow internally with their booking systems, with their employee relations, so on and so forth. And externally, there will be a lot of expansion that is possible, which is the external diversification that we discussed, such as new areas that Greyhound might explore, such as charters and tours. Now for the goals for Greyhound, we would like to see a 10% increased market share in 2 years. And that is within the next 2 years. We'd like to see that 10% increase, which will lead to a profitable company in 3 years. Once we gain 10% of the market share, we'll be much closer to the 30% that we were originally at, and that'll enable us to be profitable within 3 years. In years 4 and 5, we believe that Greyhound should repay their debt that they currently have, and once the debt is paid in years 4 and 5, there will be a chance to provide a return to shareholders in those 5 years. Customer turnover, actually right now, there were places it was as bad as 100%. Every person that came to Greyhound said, never going back. It's more common 30 to 50, but still, at any rate, that shouldn't be that high anyway. So we would suggest improving customer turnover by 20% within these next 5 years. And finally, we'd like to gain these partnerships that we have discussed in this 5-year period, especially ones such as McDonald's and different transportation companies that you might fly somewhere and you'll have a bus waiting for you, and just improve the overall image and performance of Greyhound. So, anybody had any questions?
I'm just interested, first of all, in your vision. If you're really talking about 20 years from now, so you really think there'll be motor coaches 20 years from now?
Certainly, different in, like we said, maybe an electric motor coach, something of that nature.
Because they've got those in Europe now. And I wondered why they haven't.
We always do things slow.
And you mentioned early on other bus lines, but didn't clarify that there are no other bus lines.
International.
There are a few regional.
What about the international market? In Europe, are there national bus lines over there?
And research that.
Needs a lot more train travel.
Bus transportation is big over there. Very
Is
big.
it?
Yeah. And the reason I asked was because you were talking up the monopoly thing that they have here. And another thing that I had wondered was whether or not one of those big European companies would ever see fit to come over and give them some competition. I don't know how they would run here, because there, it's just like the train system, everything is just like right on time. I mean, in countries like Germany, France, and all that sort of stuff. And some other countries not. So if you don't know anything about those other bus companies, I can't ask you any follow-up questions on it. At first, when you talked about strategy, and maybe my ears were playing tricks on me, but I thought I heard you say diversification, concentration. Do you recall?
Yeah, external diversification.
Okay, those are two different strategies, diversification and concentration.
Okay, how about concentric diversification?
Concentric.
We thought that concentric and concentration, it seemed like those were the same thing. That's why we changed that word. But concentric is what it is in the book.
And actually they're exact opposites. Concentration is in the current product service line. Concentric diversification is other related products and services. So, what did you put in the case itself?
It should say concentric.
Okay. And say again what strategies you're recommending now for the future?
Internal growth concentration and external diversification, concentric diversification, and also the name McDonald's. Yeah, well, the diversification externally.
Okay. How is it diversification? What new products or services are you going to offer?
Food service.
The other new things that they were gonna offer is charter and tour.
Oh, okay. If You say their business is bus transportation, though. Motor coach transportation, it's the same thing. It's just a different way of packaging it. You know, it's like if you were selling steak and you put it in a different package, it's still steak. So that might be concentration. But what else besides, I find that with burgers, where are you gonna put burgers?
Currently, they have food service in their restaurants, but it's very,
It's mostly vendings. Right?
yeah, well, and they have some.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Bell, and today, along with Becky Allen, Matt Lang, Kevin Waller, and Kevin Money, we're going to discuss with you our research on Xerox Corporation. First of all, I'd like to talk to you, or I'd like to tell you what Xerox's mission statement is. Xerox Corporation develops, manufactures, markets, and services an array of innovative document solutions, services, and systems, including black and white and color printers, digital presses, multifunctional devices, and digital copiers designed for offices and production printing environments. It also sells associated supplies, software, and support. Xerox, the document company, does business worldwide. Our strategic intent is to help people find better ways to do great work by constantly leading in document technologies, products, and services that improve our customers' work processes and business results. Since our inception, we have operated under the guidance of 6 core values. We succeed through satisfied customers. There's a reason why we listed this as first. We believe that only through satisfied customers can we survive as a business. We value and empower employees. We reward employees and we keep our good ones, and we use this as a tool to attract new employees as well. We deliver quality and excellence in all we do. Anything that has the name Xerox on it, we want it to be associated with greatness and quality and a high quality product. We provide superior returns to our stockholders. We use technology to deliver market leadership. We understand that technology is always changing and always will be changing, and we plan to stay on top of this. To develop and bring to you the best technology possible. We behave responsibly as a corporate citizen. Xerox Corporation's current business strategies on the corporate level include pursuing internal growth concentration strategies. This includes a new advertising campaign launched in January that is intended to build Xerox's image and to specifically promote high growth opportunities for the firm. They also have product improvements and extensions in this segment. Another strategy is external growth concentration strategies, which include a joint venture with Fujifilm, creating Fuji Xerox Corporate Limited of Japan, and these two companies have an uninterrupted access to each other's patents, technologies, and products. The acquisition of the color printing and imaging divisions of Textronics Incorporated, which is an acquisition that has given Xerox the #2 market position in office color printing and improved their distribution network. The final strategy that Xerox is using is a turnaround strategy. This involves restructuring, divestiture of several segments, including the China operation, refocusing of assets. Xerox has also decided to outsource half of its manufacturing and all customer financing. The business strategies that Xerox has incorporated, first of all, they have 5 business segments. They have production, office, DMO, SOHO, and the other division. DMO stands for Developing Marketing Organization, and SOHO stands for Small Office, Home Office. All these 5 segments are pursuing a cost leadership strategy as they continually try to lower their cost structures. Now I'm going to toss it over to Becky, who will discuss the broad environmental factors that Xerox faces.
Sociocultural naturally, a great opportunity for Xerox right now is the availability of a very diverse workforce. And also there are a lot more Generation Xers in the workforce now too. An article I read said that Generation Xers are well-educated, entrepreneurial, comfortable with technology, and bottom line oriented. I thought that was a great quote. On the darker side of the socio-cultural aspect is the threat of terrorism. Businesses are spending twice as much as they were before September 11th. They're spending twice as much now on security measures as they were before. Economically, this is not an easy time for any firm, but one particular aspect of the economy that's been difficult for Xerox to deal with is low business spending. In the first quarter, business spending was down 6.2%, and this is especially bad for Xerox because almost all of their customers are businesses. The dollar is weak against the yen, but this is not all bad for Xerox. Xerox has a lot of Japanese competitors, and with the dollar being weak compared to the yen, that makes Xerox prices relatively cheaper. In the technical realm, you've probably noticed that everything's becoming digital, and the office environment is no different. This has given Xerox a lot of opportunities to create new products and invent new revenue streams. But unfortunately, there's less interest in technology than there was a few years ago. A few years ago, all businesses had to have the latest and the greatest, and they didn't care how much it cost. They were kind of starry-eyed over technology. But recently, there's been a return to more cost consciousness, and they want to know, how much is this product going to save us? And they're not so in awe as they used to be. Of course, the big thing in the political and legal environment is all of the corporate scandals. And Xerox is one of many companies that's been in trouble with the SEC. They overstated pre-tax earnings by $1.41 billion, and this was mostly due to the way they booked the equipment, leased equipment. They booked all the revenues at the beginning instead of spreading it out over the life of the product. Xerox has diverse customers. Some of their customers purchase services, some of them purchase products. A couple of examples of Xerox customers are Kinko's and Microsoft. 40% of Xerox revenues come from outside the U.S., so they truly are a global company. In the value chain, Xerox has recently decided to outsource half of their manufacturing, and in the Western Hemisphere, Xerox distributes their products through division and wholly owned subsidiaries, while in the East, they utilize Fuji Xerox's channels of distribution. Xerox has a lot of competitors, and the two biggest are probably Canon and Icon. Canon right now has a 54% market share as compared to Xerox's 31%, but Xerox is doing their best to get in there and turn that around. Stakeholders in Xerox include Fuji Xerox, which Kevin mentioned earlier, and this really is a vital relationship because of the patent sharing, the information sharing, and they're working together on research and development. Shareholders in Xerox aren't terribly happy right now. They closed yesterday at $6.35 a share, and the year high was $11.45 a share. And a lot of shareholders actually have lawsuits against Xerox relating to all their misstated earnings. The document processing industry is one that's very competitive, and it changes really quickly. So if a firm wants to make it in this area, they've got to have a focus on research and development, and they've got to be willing to spend money on these new innovations, and they've got to do it quickly.
Okay, in top management, Ann McCaughey was just appointed last year as the new CEO. She's been with Xerox since 1976. Also, in wake of the recent accounting problems, Barry Romero retired as CFO, and the new CFO is a former CFO for IBM named Lawrence Zimmerman. In Xerox's culture, Xerox tends to encourage employee participation, which is good. They also use total quality management philosophies, which means that employees are responsible for the quality. They also use management by objectives, which helps to put employees in contact with management and to set benchmarks and goals. Xerox is beginning to distribute through independent agents and dealers. Before, they handled all their own distribution. In the first quarter of 2002, revenues were down 10% to $3.86 billion. Yet, Xerox maintains a high cash balance of $4.75 billion, so they have a lot of cash on hand. With the new CEO, all spending overall has decreased, yet Xerox has maintained their spending on research and development, which is important for new product innovation. Also, Xerox has ownership in Fuji Xerox, which is good because then Xerox has two places that they can kind of look for different innovations. Another good asset that Xerox has is the Palo Alto Research Center, and it was started in the 1970s. The special thing about this research center is that they tend to focus more on long-term visions as opposed to current new product innovations, and it's a widely copied model by lots of different businesses. For marketing, Xerox just began a new marketing campaign in January for the Winter Olympics. Some of the good competitive advantages that Xerox has right now is the Research and Development Center with their Palo Alto Research Center, and also their brand name recognition. We used to hear people say, "Can you make me a Xerox?" And that's one thing that hopefully they'll continue to have. Okay, Kevin?
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the strategic direction for Xerox. First, the vision for the future of the industry. Digital color printing press will come to the forefront in the future. That's something that right now is very expensive, and many companies are struggling to provide at a low cost, and Xerox will need to follow that vision. In the industry, there will be a shift from mass production to mass customization, which means rather than having 1,000 brochures printed, you might have 500 green brochures and 500 red brochures. Internet and the intranet are increasingly ways that documents are distributed to people. You don't anymore receive a memo over paper. Instead, you get it in an email or on the internet at your company. And finally, cost-effective color will be important. We all know how expensive it is to print in color. Even downstairs here at Copeland, we have to pay for it right now, so that'll be important. So for the future vision at Xerox, innovation will be very important, especially for the digital color printing presses and the cost-efficient color. Variable data printing, that goes right along with the mass customization. And document management consulting, as we talked about, as Matt talked a little bit about, that's a great competitive advantage for Xerox, and it'll in the future it'll be important for them because as paper disappears, they'll have to have something that remains sustainable. And finally, key partnerships will be very important. Partnerships that will help them to make it through that paperless office. For the mission and the purpose change, Ms. McCaughey, the new CEO in 2001, she brought about a new mission. You can see here a picture of her delivering that mission. We feel pretty good about her mission. The only one thing that we would change would be that we would say that we're going to help people find better ways to get work done anywhere. Right now they say that they're going to work in the office and in production. We think that Xerox can work anywhere. New competitive advantages. Research and development can be very important in the future. We think that because of the Palo Alto Research Center, they can not just sustain spending, but increase spending greatly, and especially in the color department. Brand name, like he said, I need you to make me a Xerox of something. So that's kind of disappeared recently, but we think that they can reestablish that brand name because it is so inherent in our minds. And finally, the document management consulting excellence. That's such an important thing for Xerox in the future. Some corporate level strategies. Internal growth concentration. We think Xerox should focus on advertising and promotion of their high-growth products, such as these new color products that we're talking about. Product improvements in the color area, and finally, consulting growth. Those all fall under the internal growth concentration. Externally, we think they should follow external growth concentric diversification. Two main things here: a partnership with Barnes & Noble. We vision the future of this industry as having print-on-demand bookstores. That is, if you need a textbook but you only need chapters 5, 6, and 7, you can go to the bookstore, print it, and have it bound immediately, and Xerox could provide the infrastructure for that. And also a partnership with Lotus. If you've ever used Lotus Notes, which I'm sure you have, which is what our College of Business Internet is built on, they're excellent at what they do. What they do is they connect people within an office digitally. So Xerox's document management expertise combined with Lotus's software will provide for a sustainable future for many years. And on a business level, we think that Xerox should follow a cost leadership strategy. They need to boost their income by providing the best product at the lowest price, and they need to cut costs to do this. We talked a little bit earlier about what they need to do to cut these costs, but they certainly can't become profitable without cutting costs. And differentiation. This is a new thing that we think Xerox could follow because of their expertise in the document management solutions department, they can charge a premium price because people are going to pay it. So for some goals for the future. First of all, we think Barnes & Noble is an important first goal for them. Within 5 years, they should be located in strategic locations throughout the country in this area. Faster custom color. This combines both the color low cost and the custom printing. We think they should get to this within 1 year. The first company to come out with an affordable color printer, affordable digital color printer, will be the one to succeed. Xerox executives need to be aware of what's going on inside the company. We've seen so much emphasis on corporate accountability that within 1 year, Xerox needs their executives need to know exactly what's happening within their company. Become part of the Lotus Partner Network. I talked about how good Lotus is at what they do. They are a division of IBM and have partners in every realm. And within 5 years, we think Xerox should become part of this partner network. And this is what will keep them going in the future. This is going to be the thing for them. And finally, market share up 10%. Becky said that Canon has 54% market share, and we're only at about 31. If we can take 10% from them and apply that directly to us, within 3 years, Xerox will become a profitable company and will provide its shareholders with an excellent return. So now I'm going to let Kevin Money tell you a little bit about implementing these goals.
Okay, we've discussed our goals, but really the most important part of the goal is the implementation of the goal. First off, our only organizational structure change would be for Xerox to make its business a specific business segment for the consulting services. Right now, it's just listed under the other segment, and we feel that's really an area where they can grow. Now I'm going to briefly run through the goals and just touch upon some of the main points that the finance, marketing, human resources, and operations departments will have to do in order to achieve the goals. First, to start the pilot print-on-demand bookstores, the finance department must determine all costs, including things like publishing royalties. The marketing department must determine which markets are suitable for the stores, such as like college campuses like this. And we also have to start an advertising campaign to let people know that these stores do exist. Human resources will have to hire and train workers for the stores, and operations will develop printing and binding methods that are more fast than the ones they have right now. For our low-cost digital color printing presses, the finance department will have to work with other departments to find costs to cut. Marketing will determine competitive prices for the printers, and human resources must train workers to operate the machines, because if you have the machines and there's no one to run the machines, they're pretty much worthless. Operations will then have to develop the new product specifications. Another one of our goals was to make executives aware of all questionable activities within the organization. For this, the finance department must provide funding for the surveys and other informational tools. The marketing department will have to let the public know that Xerox is cracking down on these unethical activities and that they won't stand for it. Human resources will provide workshops to teach the employees to basically teach them how to tell on their coworkers and not feel like they're going to lose their job. Operations will develop software for surveys and databases to hold information. For Xerox's partnership with Lotus, the finance department must naturally determine what costs and benefits are part of the partnership. The marketing department will start a campaign advertising the new partnership. Human resources will once again train the workers to use the new software. And operations will have to work with Lotus to combine the existing software with the new. For our last goal of increased market share and profitability, the finance department will shorten days to sales outstanding time. The marketing department will advertise the consulting service more. And human resources will consider downsizing and other workforce changes. Finally, operations will perform capacity utilization analysis to make their warehouses run more efficient. With that said, we thank you and we'll help with questions.
Questions? Yes, sir. I'm really surprised that you, I'm trying to think, did they, when you said the current business level strategy in all their areas was cost leadership, for some reason that's right, I always thought they would be a differentiator. Why, did it say somewhere that they're cost leadership, Brian?
Yeah, they said that that's their strategy.
Yeah.
I think maybe with a lot of the new competitors like Canon, maybe they can't afford to differentiate so much.
As good a one, but cheaper.
Right.
Well, I don't know if they are definitely trying to keep their costs, their prices lower, but I know they're cutting costs all across the board as much as possible.
But you just need to understand that that's not automatically a cost leadership. I mean, that doesn't mean they're in lead with that. It might, might just be part of the turnaround thing that they have to cut costs. And there's no way of getting around it. Also, something about price, as you said. Maybe they're trying to cut their, and I don't know exactly what their financials, but maybe they're trying to cut their costs enough to be able to price competitively with Canon and other people like that. Not to undercut them. It's just interesting to me when you say that. What is the historical high of this stuff? So it was 11 earlier this year, it was, what, 6 now?
It was in the 40s, wasn't it? Yeah, sure.
How long ago?
And right before the bubble burst, bursted too.
Even with all their troubles, the cash flow problems and all that?
That's when it was at its peak.
That's what?
It peaked.
It's down to 41% this year.
I just keep thinking I should forget this pocket. Listen, two voting. Sort of associated with that, and this is more of a, not specifically related, it's more of a thought question for you. How do you feel about, you mentioned the fact that a lot of stockholders actually have been suing. How do you feel about stockholders' right to sue a company for losing money, losing value?
Well, the reason that these ones are suing is because of the misstated earnings. So, I'm not sure really, but if the company's done something to mislead them,
That's what
might
they're
have a
basing.
case.
When you buy stock, you buy into risk. However, like Becky said, you're misled by financials.
Research doesn't do much good. You can't trust the accuracy of the financials. I've sort of a mixed feeling about that. It opens up a possible can of worms. Where do you stop it? I lost my IRA because this company went down the tanks. That sort of stuff. I noticed noticed also that you pretty consistently were talking about Xerox as a generic term. And you said that you wanted to get it back to that. Talk to me about the pluses and minuses of becoming a generic like that. Your name being adopted as a generic term for the process itself. You see any downside of that?
Makes it a little easy to become complacent, I think. I think that's what happened in the past.
Anybody else?
It's like Kleenex, like you say you want Kleenex, you're not actually thinking about the Kleenex name.
Okay, that's the main downside of it. And I just want to make sure that you all understood it wasn't all good that somebody said, I want a Xerox. Because like Kleenex and Coke is another one. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean somebody, if you ask them to go Xerox this, doesn't mean that they're gonna go use a Xerox machine. You know? And so that's a possible, you sort of diminish the importance the brand distinction brings when you do that. So don't forget that. And there are good points of that. I know we sort of, or I did sort of laugh when you said that HR is going to train people how to tell on other people about what? What are we setting up like we're in government?
Like we talked about in class, like when your boss is doing something, you don't want to, who are you going to tell? How are you going to report that?
You know, the term for that?
Whistleblower.
Whistleblower, right. I'm surprised that Xerox wouldn't already have pretty good policies and procedures for whistleblowers, as big as it is. Did you find any new evidence that they did? Okay. Because usually it is a pretty complicated process, not only to describe procedures for doing that, but also to protect individuals. It's almost impossible to do it, actually, because they can always find something. About the best bet you can have is if you think it's bad enough that they'll be fired. Then you can be pretty safe unless they have a whole lot of friends. But I've seen people get fired for underperforming, a year after they found someone. And it had nothing to do with that. It's just the fact they weren't doing a good job anymore after 22 years. One other thing, I was a little concerned about this mission that you said was okay. What function is help?
Sorry?
You put up there help.
Oh, yeah, no, that's just simply one line out of the whole mission. I think that that's just really an excellent, help people do things better. I mean, the mission's pretty long, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna list that on the slide, but
See, that sounds more like a tagline to a vision statement. Remember? That last line of the vision statement
Black.
is supposed to be catchy and get people's, fire up people's imagination. But, okay, well, thank you very much.
Can I go get a cup of coffee?
Thanks. That's not bad. It won't stop.
Maybe if you press the record button again on the right side.
Tried it once.
The last case works
remember the first case I gave you the written case. I said, all the internal information is there, and some of the external information. But you have trouble doing it because it was dated information. Now, the second case is a real-time case. So there's no information that's off limits. You analyze the company right up until the day you walk in the classroom and make your recommendations. So that does away with all that. Now, the trade-off is I don't give you anything. You have to do the internal research, you have to do the external research. You have to find out what's going on inside the company and what's going on outside the environment. So, with that said, let's see, your group number one, right? And how quickly I forget. You had, what did you just present? You had a bakery. Do out there. But the reason I laughed, and I didn't even realize this when I was doing it. Yeah. Your Apple computer, bakery, Apple. Good. I thought it was cute. It just struck me. That's going down there through. I mean, it's a lot different industry, but. And you. See, I have so many companies I love to assign. It's just two groups. I just need to simplify. I want you to do Xerox.
There's some stuff about it that won't be true. I'm kidding.
Really? Yeah. See, you've already started your research.
That's right.
That's it. Xerox. Okay? I think you did a good job. I'm looking forward to reading your cases and seeing if you communicated the things you should have. I've already pointed out some of the things that you'll probably hear when I read the case. Did both of you give pretty detailed information about how you're going to do it? And how you take that last part? Did y'all? Okay. Well, presentations were overall pretty good. I'm going to talk to you about presentations again in greater detail. And how many class meetings do you have now? 3?
Yeah, business weekly.
Yeah, this is
This
just
week.
We're half done after tonight.
Five more.
5 more. Gosh, we're going to leisure. Now, I'm hoping to be able to help you all with this size of these cases. Working with the individual groups. Well, I guess I've kept you here long enough. Because I can't just keep having you. And I know how much you're looking for it here. So, have a good time. See you Wednesday. Yes. You pick up the paper and start reading about your company. Okay?
Have you read Jack Welch's book?
Yeah.
I figured since you talked about it, I read it. It's a good book.
He turned that company into.
I think there's a lot of stuff that's underpriced